cut me off, I ain't write them back. Nah. Follow me, but don't double tap, I ain't liking that. You subscribe, I monetize, now who's striking that? Wanna see the contract, who got the rights to that? This my story, I spent my whole life on that. Time's up. Shador Sanders with the rollie in the armor. I could do this shit with my eyes closed. The main attraction don't come at me with no side show. I'm selling high, they wanna buy low.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. I still got my thumbnail up there. It must be fire because I still left it up there, baby. There we go, there we go, there we go. Good morning, people. Good morning. I know I said that a lot, man, but it's a good morning. I'm feeling good. Hopefully everybody else is feeling good, man. I got my boy Rock in the building, and I also got my guest. One of the guys I met at the expo probably the last 2 years, man. I done kept in contact with him. He always showed me some love, so I said, hey, man, let my community, let our people show Pat a little bit of love. And Pat Fitzmaurice, man, how we feeling today, bro?
Fizzle and T-Rock, great to be with you guys. I'm feeling cold. It's cold all over. Seems like all over the country. I know they're getting snow down in Houston, but yeah, I woke up to minus 10 in Chicago today. So good to be inside talking to you guys and not being outside watching.
Yeah, well, look, that's why you want to cook up, Pat. We're going to get you warm. We're going to get you right. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'll be cooking up this morning, man. I was listening to y'all talk about good breakfast spots in Chicago. And, hey, sound like I need to go to Chicago, man. So, Rock, how we feeling, brother? How we feeling, man?
Oh, man, I'm feeling great. I'm with two legends right now, but I'm like an indoor house cat. I'm not going outside. I don't have no dog to walk outside, so it's all good right now.
Yeah. Nah, that sound good, bro. Unfortunately, me and Pat have dogs to walk. And, like you said, man, you can sit in the house and cook up, bro. So actually, for those that don't know, Rock is a chef, man. So that's probably why he know all them spots for you, Pat. So Rock does all the cooking. He hooks us up. He does his thing, man. Long weekend of football. Great weekend of football. Weren't too many blowout games like we had the weekend before. More so, that Commanders game was one of those games. And we gonna touch on all those, man. I see that. I'm waiting on the chat, man. Where my people at? Y'all gotta wake up, man. I know you want some breakfast this morning. It's time to cook up with us, baby. But till they jump in, Pat, I just want to talk about you for a minute, Pat. Kind of just, give us like an introduction to you in a sense, right? I know I got you here today. Like I said, you one of my guys, man. One of my favorite guys. I always watched for a while. I kind of just want to get a little bit of background on you before we get started too early, and where you at, how the people can find you, and also, what brought you here today, man, other than me sending you the good old message in the inbox, man.
Yeah, so I guess I've been doing the fantasy thing for a long time, like mostly part-time. Like I've been at Fantasy Pros full-time for, I don't know, three plus years. But before that, long time ago, back in the 90s, I worked at Pro Football Weekly, like this weekly news magazine and kind of an old school publication. Wasn't making a lot of money, so I had to move on after a little while and got into more like a traditional journalism job. That's what I went to college for. And, was just left on good terms. So Fantasy or Pro Football Weekly had me doing stuff on the side, just kind of kept up with that and was just, fantasy football was a side gig, and then Fantasy Pros came along and offered me a job, and I don't mind it. It's fun. Didn't hate what I was doing before, but definitely not as fun as this. So that's it. And now you can find me at Fantasy Pros and on Twitter at Fitz_FF. And so good to be here. And it's nice that it's not as busy as it was during the regular season.
Oh yeah,
but then again, now I've got a little extra free time and there's nothing to do with it because it's 10 below outside. So
nah, right, for sure. And that's why I said I'm gonna hit up Pat, man, once the season over. I know he's online all day, every day, doing the AMAs and in the Discord. I join and listen to a lot of them. So I said, let me reach out, man, once I know time is low. People, kind of got a little bit of free time. So we glad you're here, man. And I guess we can get started, fella. Let's just get on to these games. Well, before we get on to the games, let's get into this, because this right here was breaking news. Ben Johnson. When I looked at Ben Johnson, I was literally on the phone and I didn't even realize that I had like 8 sleeper messages and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, what is all this? And Ben Johnson got a job, right? So Ben Johnson, he didn't waste no time. I mean, everybody, he was holding the whole industry up, waiting like, hey, man, when he going to make his decision? Finally, they lost. And me personally, I said, man, I don't know. The way they went out, Ben might say, look, we need to win the Super Bowl. I need to come back. You know what I'm saying? Like those jobs that were out there, you know, the Raiders, the Saints. I mean, no guarantees with those teams. But if you were ever to leave the Detroit Lions and go to another team with Caleb Williams under contract, Roma Dunze under contract. I mean, you literally going into, you digging in the sand and you looking for treasure, but you ain't too far off. So for me to see Ben Johnson go to the Bears and he didn't even act like he wanted to go other places. I know we read the Raiders, we read a lot of the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he signed this one literally just like this. He said, let me do it on a holiday. I'm at home doing nothing. Let me just, tap in and get this contract. So how we feeling about Ben Johnson to the Bears, man? And what is the outlook we think for guys like Caleb, Rome, DJ, and this offense? Because I believe the defense is already there. So the Ben Johnson offense, how we feeling about Caleb? Pat, I'm going to let you go ahead and speak on that one.
Yeah, Fizzle. I think pretty much everyone who follows the NFL believes that Ben Johnson is one of the best play callers in the league, one of the best offensive designers in the league.
Yeah.
But, let's face it, Johnson had a pretty sweet setup in Detroit. Great veteran offensive line, dynamic weapons with Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams this year, good young tight end with Sam Laporta, and Goff, like maybe not a superstar level guy, but a steady veteran quarterback who can kind of make the steam engine go.
Definitely.
So now Ben Johnson goes to a team that doesn't have such a good offensive line, doesn't have a running back, certainly with the talent of Jahmyr Gibbs. But you said it, man. Got the quarterback in place, has Roma Dunze, who could become one of the top receivers in the league. It's just, how is this marriage going to work with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams with a quarterback who, Goff was kind of a play and rhythm guy, quick drops, quick releases. Just like, it seems like a weird fit. This quarterback who does his best work when a play breaks down. So, I mean, that's the key to this whole thing. Like the Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams pairing. A lot of people think it's an odd match and wonder if it's going to work out. Maybe, but I know that the arrival of Ben Johnson can only be a good thing for Caleb's career.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I mean, Johnson's a much better play caller than either Shane Waldron or Thomas Brown. So,
for sure.
And interesting, like, what a kick in the teeth for Lions fans. Like, you go out like that, and now Ben Johnson doesn't even leave the division. He's in your division. Like, that can't feel good.
Yeah, and my biggest thing with that move was when you stay in the division, you kind of saying, I left Jared Goff, who I know I kind of made Jared Goff who he was, in a sense, right? Knowing when we watched Jared Goff and how he's played, that's the reason why the Rams didn't want him. When he came to Detroit, Ben Johnson kind of made him the number one offense in the league. Nobody would have ever expected Jared Goff to be, and that offense to be number one with Jared Goff being the quarterback. So knowing that you left the Lions and this team was the worst in the division record-wise, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they trumped the Lions in 1 year because of Ben Johnson leaving. Like, right? I mean, I'm looking at their offense. We know what they can do. And I know, right? I see your eyes getting big. I'm just saying, man. If you look at what the Bears doing and what Pat just said, the match is, people trying to figure out if it works. But I look at it as, like you said, it can't get no worse, one. And maybe Caleb's, that ego kind of came down a little bit after year one. And he might be saying, listen, whatever this guy wants me to do, I'm going to do it. If I need to not play my best on the run and I need to sit in the pocket or figure out a way to be better, I'm going to do it. And I think Caleb, after seeing what Jaden Daniels is doing, he looking himself in the mirror right now because Caleb is from Washington. You know what I'm saying? So to see another guy take your spot and your hometown team to the, NFC Championship in 1 year, I think Caleb right now was calling Ben Johnson like, hey, whatever you need me to do, I will do it. So, Rock, how we feeling about the Bears, man? I don't want to hold you up, brother. Go ahead.
He can look at himself all the time he wants in the mirror, but until they fix the offensive line, it's not going to change. Which is
That's
why I'm
true.
most excited about Ben Johnson, because they had the recipe for how to build, a juggernaut team in such a short turnaround with that offensive and defensive line. I had one of my Bears friends over last night to watch the Ohio State game. He is super stoked to have Ben Johnson. So, I mean, to see what they did in Detroit, to see what he can do with offensive playmakers, having Swift in that running game, I'm sure they're going to draft another running back to pair along with him. They have Roshan Johnson, who isn't too bad, but yeah, the priority is the offensive line. So until they start really revamping that, they already have an amazing defense. It's I'm more excited for Ben Johnson, just what he's going to bring to the team and that winning mentality. They need that culture shift. But I'm not. I'm still kind of out on Poles as the GM. I think that he's great at getting playmakers, but until they fix that offensive line, I'm just gonna keep waiting.
I'm with you. I mean, the O-line is that's the key, right? The O-line. Caleb was the most sacked quarterback this year, I believe, like number 3 overall in history or something like that. So I understand it, man, but I believe a guy like Ben Johnson, that's why you call those plays, get the ball out quick. You got to work to the strengths of the team. And right now it's easy to say because the Lions had the best O-line like ever. So easy to kind of say that, he made Jared Goff and the offense was clicking because of the O-line. But I think sometimes, I mean, we can look across the board. The Washington's Commanders O-line isn't the best, and they're getting the ball out. I mean, Caleb got to find a way, and he knows how to move. He's not a pocket, standard guy. So I think the O-line, man, they can figure that out, baby. They just need to score some points, stay down, stay low, and win those games ultimately low, though. So, Pat, man, I know you're an NFC North guy. How you feeling about the Bears actually succeeding in year 1 versus your team, the good old Packers, man?
Yeah. So, well, that last game of the year kind of hurt with the Packers sort of going through the motions and still having a chance to win at the end and not getting it done. But
yeah,
like I've got a lot of friends who are Bears fans, and like I'm glad they got this right with the hire.
Yeah.
It seemed like there were a lot of weird names, man. Arthur Smith, Mike McCarthy. It was kind of fun to tease a lot of my Bears fans friends. Like, oh man, I'm gonna have fun with you guys if they hire Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
So like they got the right guy, and he was the top pick. What's going to be interesting is, like, I know there were word here in Chicago was that for the right guy, for the right head coaching candidate, like the Bears were sort of willing to throw Ryan Poles overboard if they got their guy. I don't know if that's going to be the case with Ben Johnson. Like, even though it does seem like he was the top target and pretty much the best candidate on the market.
Clear number 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like if they, I don't know if that other shoe was going to drop and they were going to get rid of Poles, it would have happened by now. But I don't know. I think Poles has done an okay job. He's had some misses, but for the most part, I think he's done a pretty decent job of building the roster. And, T-Rock mentioned it, like the defense is pretty good. Like they have a terrific secondary. Could maybe use like another piece or two on the front 7, but like they can really focus on the offensive line in this offseason. And I think that's what they're going to do.
Are you surprised that he only interviewed with them and the Jaguars? Or is that kind of an indictment on the rest of these openings? He didn't even met with the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I would imagine he would have been like at the top of everyone's wish list. And, I know there was mention of him being a candidate for the Raiders. So kind of surprised it went down that way. And I kind of didn't think he was going to wind up with the Jaguars just because, like, he wants to go somewhere where Trent Baalke is going to be the GM. Like, that
might throw him overboard. Though.
Yeah, you would think. But I mean, I know, like, if I was a hot head coaching candidate, like, that would be scratched off my list because I wouldn't want to work with that dude. But this seems like a good fit for Ben Johnson, though.
He must be really excited to coach Caleb in Rome. I think that's what it really comes down to for Ben Johnson.
Well, it's gonna
Yeah.
be fun to watch. There ain't no question about that. I think people must have partied last night at inauguration, man. Or when Trump said that all visual learner or those people that work at home got to be in the office. I guess they in the office today, man. I'm waiting on my people to tap in with me, Pat. But we do got my boy Jake in the building. Shout out to Jake, man. Jake actually works down there with the Carolina Panthers, man. So he always come through, show me some love. Shout out, we got Pops in the building, man. Pops, this is a Commanders fan right here, Pat. So you're gonna keep seeing these Commanders. Once I get to them, trust me, it ain't gonna never stop, man. So my brother, Mr. Voorhees, in the building, man. Shout out to you, bro, for tapping in with us. So yeah, man. I mean, outside of the Bears and what they just went through with okay, here we go. All right, moms. Good morning. Here we go. The Commanders, man. They coming, Pat. All right. There we go. Now my chat catching up. There we go.
They
My
had their
boy
snooze
Dynasty
on, man.
Big Corey in the building. Good morning, brother. How you feeling, man?
What's up, man?
So yeah, I mean, I really, it was funny. I made this, I want to say 4 hours before the news. So when I made this, I was going to talk about the coaching jobs and what's available, and we can scratch one of those guys off. So the other guy, Aaron Glenn, man, him being a defensive guy, had one of the best defenses this year, even though the whole defense was hurt. They probably had like 15 starters out in the playoffs. What's next for him? If you scratch this Ben Johnson Chicago move off, I mean, I highly doubt Dallas is a team for him. But my biggest thing when we talking about coaches and getting jobs, for me, if I'm an established coach already in this league, I'm not going to New Orleans. New Orleans is a place for a coach that, probably won't have another coaching job again. He just signed it and just to say I had a head coaching job. New Orleans,
Practice
man,
run.
Yeah, man. New Orleans to me, bro, is no way I would go there, knowing with the cap space, just everything that's going on there with that team, man. That's just a big no-no for me personally. The Jets, Jaguars, and Raiders. I'm not sure if Aaron Glenn was on the Raiders' radar, but how we feel about Aaron Glenn and his coaching jobs and what we think he gonna land? Go ahead, Pat. I see you getting ready.
Yeah, so I think Aaron Glenn just had his second interview with the Jets.
Okay.
He was the first candidate they gave a second interview to. Former Jets, a guy who would be given a lot of talent on defense, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's strange to me that the Jets would think about a defensive hire, but it seems like that's the way they're leaning. And that wouldn't be too bad. I mean, it's going to take a while to get things right with the quarterback situation and everything.
Definitely.
But man, if you can play great defense, you can kind of stay in the picture for the playoffs while you're getting the offense right.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't mind that move at all. And man, it'd be tough for Detroit to lose both of their coordinators like that. But like with success, at least regular season success, man, comes. Yeah. People are going to come poach your best coaches. So
I mean, Sean McVay lose the coaching staff every season, right? Like every year he getting a new guy. So I mean, it happens, man. When you win games and you look good, man, people come. Yep. They're trying to figure out the formula. The Jets, for me though, just imagine. I know you said the quarterback situation. What about Geno Smith in the Jets? Bring him back. Let's just have a throwback party. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if
Seattle. You think?
Seattle hasn't offered him a contract yet, so technically, I don't know what they want to do either. But if I'm Aaron Glenn, I'm going to go get a guy, not a Kirk Cousins, but somebody that's already been around, somebody that I know we're not going to win probably a Super Bowl this year, but we at least can figure some things out, set some ground rules, and start a culture on my first year. I don't want to go in the first year with Aaron Rodgers showing up late, not coming out. We don't want that. We want guys that want to be in the building, set the culture, set the standard from day one. And I like Aaron Glenn to the Jets. I'm with you though, Pat. I think they need an offensive guy. My biggest preach on this show is offense for great offenses. You know what I'm saying? When you got a great offense, you need an offensive guy at the helm. To me, we watch Andy Reid do it. We watch all these great guys do it. Unless you are a DC guy with a great offensive coordinator like Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell, it's kind of hard, man, to have a young. Plus, you got quarterbacks, right? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury was the ultimate signing. Pat myself on the shoulder, man. I've been saying that since January. Rock, man. I always said Cliff. I thought Cliff should have been the head coach in Atlanta, to be honest with you. But that's a whole nother story, Pat. We ain't going to talk about my praises, man. But I will say Aaron Glenn to the Jets to me is the ultimate signing for them because they are ultimately a defensive team, and you just sign a guy that's already established a quarterback to me and figure out the quarterback room probably a year later. But Rock, before we move on, what you think about the Jets and Aaron Glenn, bro?
So they reported this morning that they are not going to let Aaron Glenn out of the building until he signs a contract with them. So
I believe it.
They want him pretty bad. But before I really give my thoughts on it, I wanted to ask Pat, are there certain factors that you look at when teams are considering coaches as far as like winning recipes? Are there certain things that you think, oh man, this is going to work, or oh, I'm not so sure about this hire?
Oh man, I have to say, like, pretty case by case on that, T-Rock. Like, I don't know, like I mentioned the Mike McCarthy thing and how I was making fun of my Bears friends about the possibility they would hire Mike McCarthy. But like, you got to say, like, Mike McCarthy, wherever he's went, the teams have been pretty respectable. And like, I have my complaints about some of the things, the clock management, the, like the way McCarthy will challenge like a 3-yard catch on 1st and 10. Like, dude, who cares if it's 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 10? Don't waste your challenge. Don't put your challenge at risk. Like some really silly things that any kid who plays Madden could figure out for him. But like at the same time, like the McCarthy teams, like rarely collapse. I mean, I know the Cowboys had issues this year, but a lot of that was injury related. Like they've been pretty professional organizations, and that was the case when he was in Green Bay too. So, I know a lot of people are going to jump up and roast whatever team eventually hires McCarthy, and I do think he's going to land somewhere in this coaching hire cycle. But I don't know. It depends. Like, yeah, I will roast whoever hires Arthur Smith if that happens.
Please put, hey Pat, I will join you. Let's all roast them together, please.
I mean, like someone might hire Pete Carroll, which I don't know if that's.
He could be the hype up man. That's what he is.
Pete Carroll's like what, 73 now?
Man, Pete Carroll is the flavor of coaches, man. All right,
still chewing gum. So
yeah, so it is pretty much case by case, but man,
it's kind of a crapshoot, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's hard to know, which coaches are gonna be, because there's lots of coaches that are better coordinators, and there's lots of coordinators that somehow figure it out. So it is definitely a case by case, but it's nice when they have the whole situation to start. When they get the quarterback at the beginning, when they have the GM, and it's all glove, hand, and fit. So, but it's tough.
Well, I see Joe C said Brian Flores, and the problem is, I think that loss in the playoffs, man, I haven't heard Brian Flores' name in a while, man. It seemed like, I don't know if it's because, they lost so early, but I mean, he was a hell of a coach. And when you look at what that Minnesota defense was when Kirk Cousins was there a year ago to now, man, he took that off that defense, man, up to here. And I don't know why I haven't heard his name much. I wouldn't mind seeing him in Jacksonville. I still think Trevor needs an offensive guy, honestly. But I don't want to see Flores go to the Saints. I want to see Flores stay in Minnesota if the job isn't right, because this might be his last opportunity if he goes somewhere and it doesn't work out. So
I think, unfortunately, Flores has been blackballed by the NFL ever since he sued the NFL. All those things that happened in Miami, I think I'm so glad that he's in Minnesota. I want him to stay. I do want him to get another head coaching, hire. But I think, unfortunately, the way things went down in Miami, I think he rubbed a lot of owners the wrong way.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Rock. I forgot all about the suing. So
yeah.
I don't mean to keep talking about the Detroit Lions for so long, man. So excuse us if we talking about these dudes for too long. But my last topic on them is what's next for the Detroit Lions. With them losing both guys, I just said they lose Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, which he's already gone. What's next for him, Pat? We saw Sonic, he's losing his rings, man. I mean, Jared Goff he had 4 or 5 interceptions, man, in the game where, and I'm gonna be honest, I said this, maybe he wasn't right after that hit in the head. I mean, maybe, when he came in that second half, he was probably a little groggy in the brain. Like, I don't know, because he was throwing some interceptions, and I'm like, man, he ain't did this all year, really. So I'm thinking that hit to the head that we saw before the first half might have kind of still had his his brain clicking a little bit. But what's next for the Detroit Lions before we move on from these guys? What y'all think about them, man? Going forward this year.
Yeah, such a tough loss for the Lions and their fans. Like the Super Bowl window can close fast, and now they've lost Ben Johnson. They're about to lose Aaron Glenn, most likely. The roster is still really strong, but who knows? As a Packers fan, I can tell you that like when we had Brett Favre and Favre wins a Super Bowl early in his career, and I'm thinking he's going to stack up Super Bowl rings like Joe Montana. And then they went back the next year, got upset by the Broncos, never made another Super Bowl with Favre, right? And then, like it's kind of the same thing with Rodgers. Rodgers makes a Super Bowl, wins one pretty early in his career. Figured there'd be multiple Super Bowl appearances. Yeah. Never happened.
That's what we
never
thought.
happened. And the Lions, Lions fans just want to get to that one Super Bowl. But so they do have a great roster still. And like part of the reason why it didn't happen for them this year after, the loss last year, everyone was like, okay, they're on the right track. They just had so many injuries on defense. Like over the course of the year, they lost Aiden Hutchinson, one of the best, most impactful edge players in the game. Aleem McNeil, Carlton Davis, Marcus Davenport, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes.
Losing those guys hurt, man. That hurt bad.
Yeah. So, and one of the key plays in that loss to the Commanders, Washington was up 3 early in the fourth quarter, I think it was. And they've got the ball 4th and 2 at the Detroit 5-yard line. And the Lions get whistled for 12 men on the field.
Hey, that was the first game changer.
They needed those 12 guys to stop fucking Gene Daniels, man.
Pretty much, man. Pretty much. But like, one of the Detroit papers pointed out that like one of the guys on the field for that play, backup safety Maurice Norris, it played exactly one other defensive snap all season. They had a backup cornerback playing his first game after being signed a month earlier, who was on the field. They had a couple other backups on the field for that play. So like they were just so underpowered. They were going to have to win shootouts to go all the way this year. And what they couldn't have was a multiple turnover game. And that's what they got with the 5 turnovers. So it's tough. I mean, like they still got this great offensive line. They still got all these playmakers. And once these guys get healthy again, it's a really good defense. But I think they're low on draft picks. I think they kind of traded out a day 2, basically. Maybe they still have like 1 day 2 picks. But, it's just what are they going to do? Who are the new coordinators going to be? It's going to be hard for them to crawl back from this. And the tough thing is, man, it is hard to get that number 1 seed. When you have it, you don't want to squander it. And unfortunately, like they kind of squandered it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Pat. I think that it's so tough in the NFL, especially when you have like our version of Tom Brady in this generation is Patrick Mahomes. So it's just going to be him, and then it's just going to be a turntable or style when it comes to all these other teams. Once you miss out on that window, and I think Lions fans, Ravens fans are feeling the same way. When you have such a juggernaut team, when you have the perfect coordinators, the perfect players on the field, it's just like it feels terrible because nothing's a guarantee in the NFL. When you miss out on this critical window, for me, I saw the same look on Jared Goff that I saw in a lot of Ravens when they were going through that game. It's just there is a whole other feeling, no matter even if you have a historically amazing team that, once you start losing, there's this thing called pressure, and it just completely changes the entire environment. Doesn't matter, how amazing your team is. Just ask Vikings fans too. It doesn't matter how many wins that you get, how historic your offense is or defense is. Things can change very, very quickly. And if you have that many turnovers against a quarterback that is playing a absolutely perfect game, it's just like there's just no shot. There's no shot whatsoever. But they were still close, up through halftime. I thought this was going to be the best game of the entire season. I was like, oh man, this is going to be our Super Bowl. And then completely fell apart in the second half. Their defense has completely locked them down. So I was pretty surprised with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, I actually had the Detroit Lions winning, and they lost their first match coming out. So, I think the people at this point are tired of us talking about those guys, man. I especially I know these Commanders fans like move on, man. We beat them already, right? So, I guess, man, we can go back and actually look at these games, man. So we're gonna get this fastest South Harmon minute out the way and kind of tap into the game. So I know, Pat, you got this. You actually have the Detroit and Commanders game. Rock, are you okay with your Ravens, brother? You okay to talk about them, man, or should I just do it, man? I don't want to.
Oh man, I might need a little bit of moral support afterwards, but I'm glad that
Okay.
we're getting this out of the way now. We could talk about the Buckeyes later, so it's all good.
Okay.
I could talk about them, and I could talk about I got some notes on the Chiefs and Texans too. So,
All right, cool. I'm gonna touch on a little bit of the Chiefs and Texans, and we all gotta have a little bit of fun with the Eagles and the Rams. So, without further ado, we're gonna cook up.
Let him cook.
Time to cook.
Let him cook.
Yeah, we're gonna let Rock go. Let's get his tears out the way. Let him cry a little bit. Man. Let my boy air it out. Man. Go ahead, Rock.
oh man, so I haven't felt this type of pain since Lee Evans dropping that touchdown, Billy Cundiff missing that kick. Man, it was tough. It was a historic offense, one of the top 3 offenses we've ever seen in the NFL. And it just got off to a rough start. You could just see on Derrick Henry when he dropped that pass, it's like, oh man. And then he threw that interception and then another fumble. It's just, and then it wasn't all Mark Andrews. I think it's going to be very easy for people to want to blame this entire game on Mark Andrews, but Lamar Jackson also had 2 turnovers himself. And it's crazy that they limited Josh Allen to only 127 yards passing. And James Cook, I believe, only had 67 yards rushing. So they didn't really need to have a huge offensive, show out against the Ravens. The Ravens, honestly, I hate when people say like, oh, the Ravens really lost this game instead of the Bills really winning this game. But honestly, this is how I felt. It's just like with those turnovers, it was the
Ravens
really,
beat
really
themselves,
tough.
brother. They beat themselves.
Yeah, I want to give the Bills their due. It's just like they completely changed it around. They did try to play Ravens ball with, controlling the clock and running the ball. So yeah, it was a really, really tough game. But the Ravens, despite all those turnovers, were in it until the very, very end. So yeah, I mean,
Rock, you sound pretty sad, brother. I'm glad
it's tough for me. It's tough for me to talk about this.
Give us a little bit more energy, man. This next game,
oh
you
man,
real sad,
the
bro.
next so the
you
next
holding
day,
back tears, man. I feel it though. I was banking on Lamar and the Ravens. I've been talking Lamar MVP Super Bowl since August, right? I've been saying Lamar, it will be the Super Bowl MVP. My boy hurt my heart, but the one thing I will say I know about Lamar Jackson, and I say this all the time, when he do this with his helmet, it's gonna be a long day for Lamar.
At least he didn't slam his helmet.
When he put both those hands on his helmet and do like this, it's gonna be a long day. That's almost like his little gift, right? I'm gonna clip that one day, and once he does this right here, it's a long day for the Ravens.
It's also the weather too. I think that's the other thing. They were playing like they were in freaking Miami or something like that. The way they were holding the ball, you can't do that when when it's like that cold outside and you got all that snow coming down and the ball's that slippery. You can't do what you usually do. Also, too, like missing Zay Flowers, I think it was also really critical too. They needed every type of pass catcher they could have, had. So I think missing him in the playoffs was also very, very critical. But yeah, I mean, my wife the very next day, she's like, "I saw what happened. I'm so sorry."
Hey, Rob, man,
okay? Listen. And I'm like, I'm fine.
This definitely wasn't the fastest minute because my boy going through it, man. Just bear with him, man. Bear with him, man.
I'm done talking about
you got anything about the Bills, brother, before we go to the next game, man? Because I know you feeling it, man. You ain't feeling good.
I had a ticket on the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I thought they were the best team. Like, I know if you look at DVOA, which is a measure of everything, like overall DVOA, they were number 1 and it wasn't especially close.
Yeah.
I really thought they were the best team and should have won that game. And it was just the other thing that bothered me. I don't know if this bothered you at all, Rock, but like it seemed like every time they would get Derrick Henry into a groove, like he'd pick up a couple of first downs, Then he has to take a breather. And this happened at least twice, I want to say. Justice Hill comes in. They hand it to Justice Hill on 1st and 10, and he gets stacked up. And Justice Hill did make a couple of nice plays, but it seemed like every time he came in after they gave Derrick Henry a breather, they would lose the momentum with the running game.
Yep.
And like a couple of drives kind of stalled out that way.
Their best drive was when they ran the piss out of the ball like 13 times in a row, and he got that touchdown. But Derrick Henry, he was like trying to catch his breath so many times. I think the weather, it being that cold, but yeah, I wanted them to run the ball more with them, but maybe he couldn't. Maybe he was just out of breath. I don't know.
But they did, I will say, like the Ravens, I mean, remember how bad their pass defense was in the first half of the regular season? And like they fixed it. That's the tough thing for Ravens fans. Like they fixed the pass defense. So they kind of had it all together. And just, but it was a great game, and we were expecting a close one that could go either way, and that's kind of what we got. I just, I would have preferred to see it go the Ravens' way.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Rock, man. Look, brother, we sorry for you, man. I'm sorry myself, man, but let's get into this Kansas City and Texas game, man. I'm going to get through it. My brother, I'm going to get some tissue, man. I'm going to send you some on the way, man. I'm sorry, Rock. But Texas and the Chiefs, man. Texas and the Chiefs, C.J. Stroud, 28 attempts, 19 completions, 245 yards, 0 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, 88 yards in a touchdown. Nico Collins, 81 yards, 5 receptions. Dalton Schultz, 63, 4 receptions. The Texans are who I guess we thought they were, right? They showed up. We didn't think they had a chance. Me personally, I think, man, since that the first Chiefs game when they played each other around Christmas time, since that Tank Dell injury, man, C.J. Stroud, he looks zapped out, man. He looks zoned out. He doesn't look confident at all. He looks reverse of what Bryce Young was. When Bryce Young was so lack of confidence and looking down and lost, it looks like they shook hands and switched powers or something, because C.J. Stroud now looks like Bryce Young looked in the beginning of the season, and Bryce Young looked very confident later on. So without further ado, man, I know that the Texans, they showed up, but this game wasn't about them, man. This was about the Kansas City Chiefs doing what they supposed to do, stepping up, getting through week 1 of the playoffs, and ultimately meeting their rival within Buffalo or the Ravens. And Pat Mahomes, 177 and a touchdown. Kareem Hunt, 44 and a touchdown. Travis Kelce, 117 and a touchdown. And offensively, this Chiefs team, I don't think they've even reached their peak. We've seen that all season. But I've said this before, the refs is always going to be in conversation whenever it's a close game. I doubt that they can do this against the Buffalo Bills, but the Chiefs had to go out there and blow a team out. They have to go out there and dominate a game. So this ref, they cheating talk, because when you go out there and you smash a team, you can't blame it on the refs, right? We would have beat them without that flag that they threw. But when they get to these 14-23s, these 23-21 wins, people gonna always blame the refs and throw that in, man. So I think the Chiefs right now are going up against a team that owes them a lot, right? Buffalo, they owe them. And I think Josh Allen, remember that Stephon Diggs picture with him always on the sideline looking at them, in the confetti in Kansas City. But Josh is going out there letting people know, hey, man, I don't got Stephon Diggs and I'm here again. So I'm looking forward to this game, probably second most compared to the other one. But ultimately, the Texans and the Chiefs, man, Kansas City did what they supposed to do, and I don't think this offense has emerged yet. It's coming up soon. They're going to put up 35-plus this weekend against Buffalo because they're going to have to win that game.
Pat, the defense is playing really good. They sacked Stroud 8 times.
Hey, listen, bro. They're going to put up 35-plus, man. Bank on it, baby. Pat, Commanders in Detroit. I'm going to let you do your thing, man. Go ahead, cook it up, Pat.
Yeah, so here's me thinking that over under 55.5 points, way too much for a playoff game, right? I bet the under. We got 76 points. We got 1,002 yards of offense combined. But the difference in Commanders 45, Lions 31, those 5 turnovers for Detroit, 0 for Washington. Talked about that big moment, the 12 men on the field penalty. That was one, but the big sequence in this game. Second quarter, Lions up 14-10. Then they get a 59-yard touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin, take a 17-14 lead. Next series for the Lions, pick 6 for Quan Martin. Less than a minute after that Terry McLaurin touchdown, all of a sudden it's 24-14. and the Lions never led again. So, yeah, I mean, the Lions just being so undermanned on defense, they absolutely would have needed to win shootouts, I think, every week to get their hands on the Lombardi trophy. And, you know, you just could not have that multi-turnover game. Yeah. So, like, Jaden freaking Daniels, guys. I mean, Fizzle, I can only imagine where you live. The hype has got to be pretty overboard. But my goodness, I know some people are saying, like, too early to anoint this guy as a star. Screw that, man. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for the anointing. Like, 350 yards of offense for Jaden Daniels against the Lions, 299 passing, 51 rushing, no turnovers again. There was this crazy stat where there were like 3 games in the regular season where Jaden Daniels had no turnovers and Washington didn't punt. And like, I think someone said that if you totaled up like Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Dan Marino, and like one other great quarterback, they had 2 games like that their whole careers combined. And he had 3 like that his rookie year. So, yeah, he was just so good this game. 9.6 yards per attempt. To have a quarterback who's this dangerous as a runner, and he has the potential to be one of the top passers in the league. And he's on a rookie deal for a few more years. Like, Washington just hit the jackpot. And now this dude has already won 2 playoff games on the road. And, like, who's to say he can't win a 3rd in Philly this weekend? Fizzle. I mean, I know the Eagles have the better roster, but I think Washington's got the better quarterback.
If they can beat the Lions, they can beat anybody. That's the thing.
Well, we going to talk about them because I definitely got something to say about them Commanders, man, coming up next. But we're going to finish the South Harmon minute with the Eagles and the Rams. Rock, I'm going to let you start it off, talk about either side, and we're just going to go down the line and close out the South Harmon minute, brother. Go ahead, Rock. How we feeling about the Eagles and the Rams, man?
Man, whenever it's got those elements and that snow, anything can happen. So I'm glad that they really relied on, Saquon Barkley in the run game. But the Rams, it was so funny in the last 4 minutes after Saquon Barkley had that long touchdown, and everyone in the chat was like, this game's over. And then the Rams started coming back. They started playing hurry up. I wish that they would have done that hurry up offense a couple drives earlier. It would have probably been a closer game. Maybe even the Rams even win. But that defense, that's what ended up causing it. The errant throw from Matt Stafford to Puka Nacua at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Glad that Kyron Williams, he showed up. He had a critical fumble. He actually had 2, one that was lost. But without him, they wouldn't have gotten to this point. It's hard to throw in those elements. So they're going to be hosting the Commanders. I want to see if it's going to be another snowy game. I think that's going to affect things. But yeah, the Eagles' defense and that run game, they're hard to beat.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna look at the Rams as I had the Rams winning this game. I did have the Rams, and I ultimately think if it wasn't for the weather, I think the Rams would have won this game. I've been saying this about Philly all season. I'm gonna keep saying it. They aren't a first half team, and I think if you get a lead on them early and they got to play catch up, yes, they're gonna rely on Saquon to break a 50-yard run. But if they don't get that late, it's kind of tough to say that they're gonna win those games, man, because he's always proven that break those big long runs is why they win those games, or they at least take over the game. And they're one big play away from not winning. So if the Rams really had a clear floor, I think Sean McVay would have outcoached Kellen Moore as far as the play calling. But ultimately, they end up losing. Puka Nacua, he had 97 yards, which I didn't have him doing anything. Most of that was late. Kyron Williams, 100-plus yards in a fumble. Matt Stafford, 324, 2 touchdowns. And I just think the Rams beat themselves. Them playing late and those 2 fumbles late in that game, man, that killed them, man. The sack on the last drive when Matt Stafford took him out of 3rd and goal and went back like 10 yards. The Rams beat themselves. The weather beat them. Blame it on whatever you want. But ultimately, Saquon Barkley is that dude. He's here. I was mad at him for not chasing the rushing record. I'm still mad at him. But he seems to me, when he was running and hitting himself on the helmet, saying, hey, this is what I want. This is why I'm here. And I'm focused on one goal. Saquon will literally drive through the wall right now to win a Super Bowl. So I like what Philly is doing, but ultimately, I think if you get a lead on them, man, you can beat them. So, Pat, close us out, man. How we feeling about the Rams and the Eagles?
Yeah, props to the Rams for getting this far. I mean, they almost made it back to the conference championship game, and it seemed like, after they won the Super Bowl a couple of years, they were in for a rebuild. But somehow Les Snead sort of did it on the fly, did it without totally tearing it down. And there seemed like a point early in the season when they were going to have to tear it down, and they didn't do that. McVay is a hell of a coach. He's just maybe the best coach in the league. And the Eagles,
it's him and Randy Reed for me, Pat. Go ahead though.
Yeah, but you said it, Fizzle. The run game and the defense for the Eagles, yeah. But man, if they need to throw and play catch up, I don't know if they can do it. This passing game's picking up an occasional third down. They're making the occasional play, but man, can they sustain it? We have not seen it over the last month, 2 months.
Yeah.
I worry if they go down by more than one score, can Jalen Hurts drag them back into the game? But, this defense in the running game is so good, maybe they don't need to tap into that.
Yeah. But my biggest thing with that, Pat, and to close us out, when you look at what you just said, I just think, as we're going to talk about this matchup, Jaden Daniels is going to have that lead, man. You better score because Washington is going to score. So you better score, man. So I just think, man, that first half, they cannot be 13-10. I don't think it's going to be there. I think the Philadelphia Eagles have to establish a lead early, and they have to kind of set the tone for that game. Make the other team play catch up, because every game this year, they have been 13-10 or losing at halftime, and then they come back and win those games. I don't think you're going to do that against Jaden Daniels on the second time, because the first game, Jaden kind of was, this game, I think it's over for that one. So, that was the fastest South Harmon minutes. It damn sure wasn't fast, but it was a minute, So
it was like 5 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah. It was cool. It was a good little, good little segment. But I'm gonna move on to other teams that were eliminated. Let's kind of talk about those guys, see what's next for them, and then we're gonna tap into these games coming up this week. So, this one kind of short and sweet for me, but let's talk about Texans. What's next for them? I know they lost Stephon Diggs, they lost Tank Dell. Tank Dell might miss another full season. Stephon Diggs might be leaving the free agency. Nico Collins is there. I mean, Joe Mixon had one of the best years he's ever had, and he's older than he's ever been. And, hopefully he can keep that going. But ultimately, I think it's going to come down to Stroud getting his confidence back. I think they need a new offensive coordinator, if you ask me. I just think it's not clicking on offense right now. And Nico Collins is just making big play after big play, but that's not going to ultimately give them success when it comes down to those games like the Chiefs. So I like D'Amico as a coach. I like the culture he built year one, coming from drafting, pick 3 or pick 4 the year before. So I like what they got. They got an extra pick from Minnesota last year in the draft when they traded back. So they got some things to look forward to. But how y'all feeling about the Texans next season? Rock, what you got, brother?
I'm not going to hold it against Bobby Slowick, man. I mean, they've had one of the worst offensive lines all year. I think that's the main difference of why the Texans don't look like the Texans of last year. And also, too, C.J. Stroud with Slowick, they're now 2-0 in their first playoff games with him. Texans haven't done that before. So, they have a huge hump. Whenever you go up against Patrick Mahomes, that's going to be a really, really tough out, and that defense. So the only thing I did not like is that almost every player and the coach himself was just they were blaming the refs for the game. They didn't look at themselves. They didn't look at, what they were in control of and stuff like that. So that's the only look that I did not personally really like. So,
yeah. How you feeling, Pat?
Yeah, I'll totally echo what Rock said. First up on the agenda, and really the main item they got to take care of in the offseason, is totally rebuilding this offensive line. They gave up the highest pressure rate in the league. A lot of games where C.J. Stroud was just not himself because of that. I mean, I know when they played my Packers, they gave up a pressure rate of 60-something% in that game. It was just ridiculous. Stroud was getting overrun in that game, no quarterback. Mahomes, Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Dan Marino. No one could have operated under that kind of pressure. Yeah. And, Stroud then throwing the fact that he lost Steph Diggs and Tank Dell over the course of the season.
That was tough.
I knew we were probably going to get some regression out of CJ Stroud this year. Hard to have an encore after a rookie season that good. But
Definitely.
like he was, the deck was just so stacked against him. Like I'm not holding it. Like I'm not concerned for him at all. I think the Texans got their guy. They got their
Yeah,
deep.
for sure.
Just got to
Sure.
fix the O-line. The only problem is when you do a rebuild of an O-line, the Bengals found this out a couple of years ago. Changed a lot of pieces, but sometimes it takes a season for all those pieces to gel,
Yeah.
and so we'll see. But the offensive line could not be much worse than it was this year for Houston.
Pat, where are you drafting CJ Stroud in dynasty startups starting next year?
Oh man,
some people are putting them now in the second round because of how bad of a year they had. I could not
Yeah.
trade him for my life this season.
I still think he's let's see, I'm looking at my overall rankings here right now for Superflex. I've still got him 10th. 7 quarterbacks, Jefferson and Jamar Chase ahead of him. That's it.
No CD Lamb, Pat. Okay, I'm gonna remember that one, man. I'm gonna bring that back
It's
to
close. It's close. I do like
It's
CD,
all good.
but I've got Lamb
Look,
12th overall.
I like the dip because that means I can buy now. I don't have to worry about people overbuying like they did last year. So I like when it dip. I ain't mad at that. So before we move on from the Texans, will they win this division next year? What y'all think? Will they win the division?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
All right.
maybe the Jaguars, depending on who they get at coach,
No,
because
Rob.
they still have a good roster.
No,
They
Jaguars
do.
are trash, man. They trash, man. We're gonna move on from the Jags,
All
bro.
right.
The Rams, though. The Rams, man. What's next for these guys? Matt Stafford said he's gonna take a look in the mirror, see how he's feeling. Cup said he's probably coming back, but he's not sure of his role. And Puka being, top 4 receiver in the league right now. Sean McVay, top 1 or 2 coach in the league. What's next for the Rams, man? Can they? I mean, 2 years in a row, they've shown us that they are better than what we actually thought they were. Because remember, 2 years ago, we thought they probably a top 5 pick, and then they end up making the playoffs. And then this year coming in with losing Aaron Donald, one of the youngest defenses in the league. I didn't give him a shot to win this year, but that guy right there beside Matt Stafford, man, is ultimately he's the blueprint. So, I'm not sure how far they would have gotten in the playoffs, but winning this game, maybe they could have made it past the next round. What's next for the Rams, though, in this 2025 offseason?
Well, the best thing happened a couple of days ago. Probably the news that we've seen is with all these coaches is McVay's going to be in Los Angeles until 2026. I think that's one of the
That's
biggest signings of the entire year is to keep him there because he's been waffling back and forth about retiring and stuff like that. So I'm super stoked. I'm right there with you. It's him and Andy Reid for me, and Harbaugh and Tomlin. So as far as the best coaches, so I'm super stoked for that. But they're gonna have to look at. I don't know if Stafford's going to come back, but even if he does come back, I really think that they need to get, unless they want to go with a veteran, signing a veteran next year or the year after that, man. Like, I kind of really want to see a quarterback, with McVay, a rookie, to see what he does with them. But it just depends if McVay finds something in the draft either this year or next year, as far as someone that he can mold and put into this offense. But
what you got, Pat?
Yeah. Rock just hit on it. Like, what happens at quarterback? Is Stafford going to stick around for one more year? Because right now it doesn't look like they have any sort of succession plan in place. But otherwise, like if Stafford does come back, I mean, they could contend again. And surprise, surprise, the Rams actually have their own first-round draft pick,
right?
2025. So I think
Right.
that's 2 years in a row. Pleasant surprise there for a team that always used to like to mortgage the future for pieces in the here and now. But so they've got a good head start on this defense. Like, they have a lot of good young pieces, especially up front on the defensive line. Saw how impactful Jared Verse could be in that game against the Eagles. So
yes, sir.
Just keep adding to the defense, run it back 1 year with Stafford. Maybe get someone to replace Cooper Kupp's old ass at wide receiver. And
come on, Pat. That's my man, man. That's my man right there, Pat. Come on now.
No, good career for Kupp, man, but it seems like he did
For
finally hit the wall. But luckily for them, I mean, Puka is ready to carry the torch, man. That guy's the real deal.
Man, it's such a shame that they've shipped off all those picks over the last couple of years to win, because they're really good at drafting. They nailed the Verse pick, they nailed the Fisk pick. the Puka pick, of course. But yeah, it's just kind of a shame. They could maybe even have much more of a juggernaut team, but they just kept those picks.
Yeah, Les Snead knows what he's doing, man. Les, stop trading away all those picks. And Jake points out in the chat, the Panthers have the Rams' second-round pick this year, so he gets to make the first, but he's not going to get to make the second.
Yeah.
Look, instead of F those picks, take those picks, man. You got to keep them. You got to make them happen, man. So the good thing is, though, seems like the last year or two, man, they actually kept those picks, and they've been doing their thing with them. So I look forward to see what the Rams doing. I like their division. Is kind of like, especially with the 49ers, we're not sure what they got going on next, man. Debo is here. He's not. Ayuk kind of came through, and he wasn't as exciting as we thought. So I believe as long as the 49ers are in limbo, the Rams can continue to possibly lead that division, man. Moving on from the Rams, though, ultimately, Rock, I'm going to let you definitely start off with this one, bro. What is next for your good old Baltimore Ravens, man? How you feeling, brother? What we got going on in 2025? And how we going to fix this loss, brother?
So it just comes down to next year in the playoffs. That's just what it is, because Eric DaCosta and Harbaugh, they're going to, do amazing in the draft as they do every year. They're going to get some clutch, key offs, signings and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really glad that Orr turned this defense around. He plugged the right players in at the right spots and stuff like that. But it just depends. You also get snake bitten with injuries during the off season and stuff like that. But as long as Jackson and Z Flowers and Andrews is there, it's gonna take a couple of days for me to forgive Andrews for that, just for that whole game and stuff like that. But I'm excited for them to run it back next year. They're just gonna be in the playoffs every year as long as Lamar is there, as long as Harbaugh is there. So
for sure.
And I'm excited for Derrick Henry to come back next year. He's an immortal. He does not age whatsoever. So I would not be surprised if he's a top 3 rusher next year as
for sure.
well. But yeah, it is what it is, man. It's tough in the playoffs, but I don't have to feel that feeling until next year at the playoffs. And the entire game, I was anxious the entire freaking time. I did not have that feeling all year. I hate when the playoffs are like that. So that's it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, Rock. I fell asleep. I turned the game off at like mid-third quarter because I knew they was gonna break my heart, bro. I said, man, this game is about to piss me off. And literally, I woke up at 5 o'clock the next morning. I didn't even want to turn my phone over because I said, man, I know they lost. I know they lost this game. I still haven't watched the Mark Andrews drop pass yet because I just know it's gonna irk my nerves, like getting me boiling hot. So I didn't watch it. I'm good on it. Lamar's my guy, man. Pat, in case you didn't know, all summer, man, I'm telling people, Lamar Jackson QB1, man. I know we had this Josh Allen, Lamar conversation all season, but I'm a little stubborn when I come to my guys. And I said Puka was going to be receiver 2 this year, and Lamar will be QB1. Puka got hurt, but I ultimately think he might have been receiver 1 or 2 or 3 if he stayed healthy. And I'm glad to see my boy Lamar is back where he's supposed to be. So how we feeling about the Ravens, and what's next for him, Pat?
Yeah, just keep building and filling in holes and keep drafting well, and they are going to be back in the playoffs, just like Rock said.
For sure.
But they are starting to remind me of my Packers for pretty much most of the 2000s, where they're going to be in the playoffs every year. It's just getting through that playoff gauntlet, and there were so many times the Packers would trip up over one of the hurdles.
Yeah,
and not get there. And man, I just hate seeing it happen to this team a couple of years in a row now, where you feel like they should have been there. And why did they not run the ball more last season in their playoff loss? Why did Mark Andrews have to have the worst game of his life in a key spot? But man, I mean, at this point, Lamar is going to have them on the doorstep every year.
Sure.
And you just got to keep knocking and hope that door opens up one of these times, man.
Yeah. But the reason I think I resonate with the Ravens so much, Pat, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think they remind me of the Cowboys so much, Pat. They always got the hype during the season. We all believe that, I just think people hate the Cowboys more because, the media, I get it. But since Dak has been there, since Lamar's been there, we all kind of know that they're a playoff team. Even coming into the offseason, you're always going to count the Cowboys to at least win 9 to 10 games. no matter what the roster looks like. And then they get in the playoffs and they stink it up every single time, man. And I think those years of Dallas going 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, going to the playoffs and losing round one, I always put Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in that category for me. And they just remind me of my Cowboys so much when it comes to that playoff time and just having the team, the formula, and it doesn't click. It doesn't work. And I mean, the Cowboys led the league in offense like 2-3 years in a row, and then going to playoffs and can't score a touchdown against the Packers. Got blown out that one time. So they remind me of the Cowboys so much. It's probably why I love the Ravens so much. I could be wrong, but they drive me crazy when the playoffs, man, for sure.
One thing I want to say about hopefully next year, just watching the Commanders and the way that they built that team, especially the defense. Lots of veterans, lots of people like Bobby Wagner that have seen, have been in the playoffs, have seen these, movies before and stuff like that. That's the thing, man. Like Derrick Henry, he brings like a, solid foundation, just this unwavering demeanor that they really needed this year. And I think that really helped them to get to the point where they were in the game till the very end of the game.
Yeah.
So I really want them to sign those types of veteran leaders who are just cool, calm, and collected, can't be shaken, can't be stirred, because that's what they need during those games. It's just to stay calm. The moment that they start having things that go wrong, turnovers, stuff like that, they need to be able to bounce back. But a lot of it's just up here. When you have a top 3 offense of all time, the only way you're going to lose is if you beat yourself, exactly like you said earlier, Fizz. So I hope that they get some key, signings in the offseason when it's just like that guy is some, veteran leadership right there.
Well, the one thing closing down on the Ravens, the one thing I will say about the Ravens, I feel like with this matchup, I think we're celebrating. Well, not celebrating, but we're talking more about the Ravens losing than kind of giving the Bills their flowers, man. Like nobody really is like, yeah, the Bills won. We just keep saying, man, Lamar lost. Like, you know what I'm saying? I feel kind of bad. Or maybe the Bills like don't care. They just want to beat the Chiefs. They can care less if we talk about them or not. I just noticed like we've talked about the Ravens and Lamar so much and their loss that I don't think we even took time to really give the Buffalo Bills their flowers. And not this today. I'm just saying, worldwide in the media. But I see Drosy brought this up, and me for the last 2 years, I've always said likely to me is their receiver 2 behind Zay Flowers. If they found a way to put Likely on the field consistently, not when Andrews is hurt. I mean, name a weapon that's better than Likely at the receiver position, not Nelson Aguilar. Rashad Bateman has stepped up a lot this year. I'll give him that. But to me, Likely, his body, his frame, the guy is good enough, athletic enough, and catches the ball. I mean, if you a good offensive coordinator, man, put him in could be a second or third receiver, man. I don't think Andrews has to miss games for Likely to get in the game. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why we had to wait till Andrews had an injury for him to just take off this year, but I need to see Likely on the field 70, 80% of the snaps instead of just filling in whenever Andrews needs a break. So I don't know if he's tight end 1 though, Drew, but he's definitely to me receiver 2 or 3, if you ask me. So that's the Ravens, man. And I guess, man, ultimately it's time to move on to the matchups at hand. Commanders and the Eagles. It's going to be one of those slobber knocker games, man, like my boy JR says on Raw, SmackDown, and all that good stuff. So let's touch on the guys who just made it here and we didn't know that they would. Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, and these Commanders, man. How we feeling about these guys' chances and their Super Bowl outcome if they make it? Pat, what we got on the Commanders?
Feeling pretty good about a team with Jaden Daniels at quarterback. And we know they got the firepower to hang with the Eagles. And we talked about this, like, can the Eagles actually hang with the Commanders if they have to play from behind? Because their passing game, like that, is the one potential fatal flaw the Eagles have. Like, can they, if they get put in a spot where they have to pass their way out of a hole, can they do it? Since the passing game just has not worked that well lately. And like we've seen Jalen Hurts do it in spots for sure. Like there have been times where he is like looked the part, he's always going to get more credit as a runner than as a passer, but like he's been an effective passer. It's just that we have not seen him do it lately. And that's concerning for sure. Like did not look good against Green Bay. Did it a couple of individual plays against the Rams, but just nothing real sustained.
Exactly.
So I want to see how far Jaden Daniels could take this team. And I think I'm probably going to be putting a little bit of a money line down, a bet down on the Commanders.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to make this a really good game.
For sure.
Yeah. Like,
For sure.
I know everyone's going to be more excited about Chiefs Bills. That's the marquee game, but I wouldn't be surprised if this first one was a thriller.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a high scoring game, to be honest. Like, I think, like you said, Pat, I think they're going to make the Eagles have to play offense. They're going to make Jalen Hurts have to throw the ball. A.J. Brown is not going to get away with one catch for 11 yards and a book in his hand on the bench, right? He ain't going to have no book on his hand this weekend. He's going to be
inspirational book.
His inspiration going to be, I need to get the ball because we down by 10 points. So, Rock, how we feeling about this matchup, bro?
I'm kind of worried about Jalen Hurts with his knee injury. He was just like, when he was asked about it at the end of the game, he just said, I finished the game. That's it. He did not, say I'm doing great or anything like that. So, but here's it. It's the playoffs. So you have to do what you have to do. This defense it's going to give, Jaden Daniels like everything that he can handle. But Jaden Daniels, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, he's the third best quarterback against the blitz. He's got an insane QBR. He can handle the blitz, and the defense, for that first half, they showed up, in Detroit against Jaden Daniels. He just made it look obsolete. But the Detroit Lions, like, they were playing the best they could, and they could not handle him whatsoever. So the first round of the playoffs, it was all about defense with all those blowouts. This past round was about the quarterbacks. And I think for this upcoming, the conference round, it's going to even be more so about the quarterback. So give me Jaden Daniels, who's playing like the best quarterback in the playoffs right now. Terry McLaurin, he's freaking elite, man. So I think it's going to be really, really tough, but I'm right there with Pat. And I'm kind of wondering, Pat, if Jaden Daniels has an amazing game, I think it's going to be hard for people not to put him 101 ahead of Allen and even Lamar. Are you going to go that far in next year's startups?
I don't know, but he's going to be really close with those guys. For me, it's probably going to be still Lamar and Allen up top and Jaden Daniels sliding right behind those guys at number 3. But I don't even know if I have a good justification for it other than the greater body of work for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, but it's interesting.
The hype is real, Pat. The hype is real. People love the hype, man. They going to draft off of, man, especially if he win a Super Bowl. Oh man, people ain't.
And what if they go and chase down another good wide receiver to pair with Terry McLaurin? And De'Ami Brown has actually looked like a star in the playoffs, but I think he's going to be a free agent. So I know this is going to be a really interesting matchup. I'm excited for this one because the Eagles defense has been awesome. And like those corners, I mean, not only the rookies with Quignon and DeJean, but Darius Slay, fountain of youth, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Slay has been fantastic in the playoffs.
And the Commanders just lost another O lineman, and that D line that D line is definitely, I mean, it's gonna be hard to contain Jaden. But I think what Aaron Glenn did wrong was he kept blitzing him. And I'm like, bro, it's not working. You need to step back and but I think he probably was so flustered because even when Jaden sat in the pocket, he just found somebody open. And that De'Ami Brown played with a hand over his face mask, still caught the ball. And I think that was all Jaden, is putting the ball in the right pocket, man. It just landed right in his hand. So
we missed it earlier, but Laporta, that touchdown catch was
man.
one of the craziest catches of all the entire year.
That was one of those highlight plays of the playoffs, no question, Rock. Yeah. My biggest take on this Commanders and Eagles game, though, is ultimately going to come down to, like I said, what is the score in the first half? I think if Philly is controlling the game and they have let's just say a 2-score lead, 10-point lead, I give them, they can possibly win this game and keep up. But I just think the Commanders are a wild card. Teams don't know how to play them because this is a new offense, a new everything, right? So it's no tape on, Jaden Daniels' first year. We'll get that next year. But year one is no tape. It's no, what do we do? So a lot of defenses right now, man, are just like, man, this dude, what do we do with this guy? And you got a guy like Terry McLaurin who we all love, we all rooted for. He just never had the right guy, and now he has his guy. And I watched Terry on that sideline, man. I think it was might have been Young May Brown that was talking to him. And he was like, hype, and Terry just kept saying, it ain't over with. It ain't over with. Like, he just kind of let him know, like, like, I've been around for a while, man. Listen, until this game is over and until, like, we got the ring, it's not over. So you got to root for Terry, man. You got Magic Johnson in greeting everybody at the end. Like, this team, man, got the juice right now, Pat. I'm not gonna lie, man. And like I said, I'm living in this town, and you can't go. Only thing I hate about the fans is they forgot that they were terrible for 30 years. So all that went out the window, and it's like no other team in the world matters. But I do ultimately have. I'll say this: I'm not gonna pick a winner. I'm gonna cheat, but I'm gonna say, if Philly wins, I don't think they'll win the Super Bowl. I think if the Commanders win, I'm gonna take them to win the Super Bowl. That's what I'm gonna say. I think the Commanders are such a wild card that in that, and I said this, I made a tweet about this yesterday. The Bills, they need to overcome beating the NFC East team in the Super Bowl, right? They lost 4 Super Bowls in a row to the NFC East. The Chiefs trying to get a three-peat. The Commanders are coming in with no rules, no pinpoint. They just coming to play football. The Chiefs chasing history, Bills chasing history, trying to, win a Super Bowl after losing. The Commanders are coming with nothing, man. They just coming with luggage and helmets and red and pads, and they ready to ball. And I just think that's a formula that can put fear in another team that got something to really, really lose. So if the Eagles win, ultimately, I think the AFC can beat them. And if the Commanders win, man, I got them for the Super Bowl, man. So I'm going to close with that one. I know my family and my friends going to clip it, but do your thing, man. Have fun with it. Chiefs and the Bills, man. I made sure I showed Pat and my boy Travis a little bit of love, man, because I think people kind of forget about them rings they got, man. So Chiefs and the Bills, Pat, man. How we feeling about this one? And is Josh Allen waving his way into the Super Bowl next week?
I do think the Bills are going to win this game. And
okay.
That is one thing that the Chiefs have going for them is pedigree, man. And like they've been in this spot so many times, and they're going to be at home and have that crazy crowd. And, they've got the great coaching of Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo. Like, they've got a lot going for them for sure. But I feel like this offense has just been getting by all year. Like, we have not seen a lot of the Mahomes magic this season. And now, even DeAndre Hopkins didn't have a catch last week. First time in his career. I think he had the second longest streak of at least one catch in every game behind only Marvin Harrison Sr. And that got snapped this past week. Like, this offense has not been right for a lot of this season. Now that they can't run the ball that effectively,
game is obsolete.
Yeah. Pacheco is not really himself. Kareem Hunt and fits and spurts, but kind of the only thing that was working was the old Mahomes Kelsey connection. Last week against the Texans. I mean, the Texans did a really good job against them defensively. I just feel like this is Buffalo's year to take them down. And I'd be surprised if the pedigree is enough for the Chiefs this year. I just feel like the Bills are the better team. And I know some Chiefs fans are going to be mad at me. I like the Chiefs. My dad used to live in Kansas City. It's a great town, but I'm not feeling it for the Chiefs this year. I don't think they get the three-peat.
Go ahead, Rock. How you feeling, brother?
So they made history, the Chiefs did. 16-3 now, Mahomes is in the playoffs, which is absolutely insane. He is behind only Tom Brady. He just tied Joe Montana for the most wins in the playoffs. Meanwhile, Andy Reid, 300 wins. That's fourth most in the NFL history. So the only thing with the Bills, why I don't think I could pick them, is just because of the game they just played against the Ravens. The Josh Allen and that offense did not look that great against that Baltimore defense, and Spags is going to have this defense just as good, if not better, against Allen. So Allen did not show me enough for me to have a lot of confidence in him. But the worst thing that could possibly happen is we see another freaking Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl. I do not want to see that again. So I am really wanting Allen to get that monkey off of his back to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I hear all the things that you're saying, Pat, about that offense, the running game not really getting going. But Travis Kelsey, he did, he had probably one of his best games of the entire year. So as long as him and Mahomes have that connection, I think it's going to be really hard to beat in Jones on defense, man. So that's the only thing that gives me. Actually, I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this game, unfortunately.
Well, I'm gonna go to Chiefs as well, man. And I'm a reason why I'm gonna go with the Chiefs though, Pat. I'm just never gonna count them out, man. It's just I know that offense hasn't clicked, and it probably hasn't all year. But I told somebody yesterday, I think they got that one bullet in the chamber that was like carved, and they got like a name on it or whatever they got, and they just waiting to use it like John Wick. And I think that they're gonna pull that one out this game. And maybe it's some plays that they haven't used all year. Maybe it's a special teams play that they got a fake reverse or whatever it is. I think they got that one play just stashed away for AFC Championship. It's literally probably labeled that in the playbook, AFC Championship, and they're going to use that one play, man. And this is the stadium going to go crazy, man. So I just it's kind of hard for me to doubt those boys, man, over there in Kansas City. And all respect to Josh, I've been known as kind of like the Josh Allen hater, and it's more so because they compare him to Lamar, and I just always gonna stand up for my guy. But it's all love for Josh, man. But I will say, Pat, my bold take was Josh Allen wouldn't finish as the top 8 quarterback this year. I'm glad that one is in the past. I'm glad that was a bold take, though. You know what I'm saying? It was bold, but I just thought Stephon Diggs not being there will ultimately kill him. But I think Josh is zoned in another level, saying, hey, maybe Steph was a distraction. Maybe, whatever that was, it is what it is. My biggest fear with Buffalo is, where's Amari Cooper, man? I didn't see him do anything last week. And it's just like Josh is doing it with,
Shakir, that's it. That's
the
pretty much
offense
it.
is clicking, but if you put the Chiefs offense and the Buffalo offense, receiver-wise, the Bills receivers aren't doing much either. You know what I'm saying? So for them to have, Keon Coleman, who we all knew was kind of a project, Amari Cooper, one of the most established guys in the league, not doing anything. I don't even think he had a catch last week, like DeAndre Hopkins, right? So that's my biggest fear. I think they're so close in offense. Buffalo's running game is what really gets them going. And with that Chiefs defense, man, if they could stop that run, now Pat had to step up and throwing, and Josh got to step up and throwing in. Who gonna call that one play that's going to get this game going? So I just got the Chiefs always having that, that extra little oomph, when they step on that field. And the AFC Championship playbook, Pat, they pulling it out the back pocket on this one, man. So that bullet in the chamber is coming out, man. What you think?
The Amari Cooper thing is just so crazy, man. Like, especially when he comes over in that trade in the first game, he has like 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown when he only played like a dozen snaps in that game and had a good game. And that was like the best game he's had for them.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Like, they don't even have him on the field all the time. They're doing this weird 4 receiver rotation with him and Keon, Shakir, and Mac Hollins. And Curtis Samuel works too.
Yeah, so Curtis Samuel had more catches than Amari Cooper.
Yeah, man. I mean, Cooper's just had this long career where he's been so solid for so long, and for him to just disappear once he's paired with Josh Allen,
crazy.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So, we 2-1 on this one, man. But I think the Chiefs might take this one. So, Super Bowl predictions. Let's just say which 2 of these teams. I mean, I know you said the Commanders and the Bills, Pat. Rock, you got the Eagles and the Bills or the Chiefs?
I got the Commanders.
The Commanders
and the Chiefs.
And the Chiefs. Okay. And I got the Chiefs, and I don't want to announce the other. So I don't have a.
You don't want to jinx them?
I got the Chiefs and the Cowboys in like 10 years. So ultimately, who we think out of these 4 teams, fellas, is going to hold that trophy at the end, no matter the matchup, not knowing who's going to be there currently right now, or with the 2 teams you got going, who's going to hold that trophy up in 3 weeks?
Dude, I want to go with the Commanders. It's just Jaden Daniels he looks like the best quarterback that's playing right now in the playoffs. Their team just playing without anything to lose. They're feeling good.
Yeah.
Just completely unwavered. Even when those juggernaut Lions offense, they were putting up points and they had the camera on Jaden Daniels and he was just completely just like unfazed whatsoever.
Just chilling. Yep.
Just chilling. It's just like, and he's smiling the whole time. Just that whole vibe. It's hard to be able to beat that. The only thing with both of these games that we've been talking about is the weather. That's the ultimate equalizer. Anything can happen, especially if you have a vaunted defense and a good running game. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go with the Commanders.
What you got, Pat?
Wouldn't it be awesome if the Commanders won a championship in their first season after Dan Snyder sells the team? I mean, what poetic justice that would be. That would be so awesome. But I'm going to say Buffalo gets their long-awaited championship parade. And how, speaking of poetic justice, like, you got to have a snowstorm for the parade. Hopefully, whenever they schedule it, they get a blizzard and we get to see that.
Right.
Where it's hard to tell what's confetti and what's snow. But yeah, I think Buffalo gets it done this year.
Yeah, and all like I said, Pat, they lost to the NFC East 4 years in a row, man. So this is the biggest redemption in history ever. Like, for you to lose to the NFC, and now you got 2 NFC teams, like, you're going to play one of those teams, no matter which one wins. So ultimately for Buffalo, those fans, man, it's going to be a lot of tables being broken, man, out there on that parade. That's for sure. Like I said, man, I can't pick a team, man. I'm out of this race. I'm gonna just say go Chiefs, and the NFC. Hopefully the Cowboys will be in a couple years. Man, I'm still gonna hold strong on how I feel, man. But speaking of Jaden Daniels, Pat, I want to get your opinion. During that summer, draft time, what was your take on the top 3 quarterbacks with Caleb, Jaden, and May, and with the landing spots of Caleb going to the Bears, Jaden going to the Commanders? I know we heard a lot of back and forth about Caleb wanting to go to the Commanders, Drake May probably being a better prospect to go to the Commanders. I always felt, me being in this city and knowing this city, I try to, preach this to people that's not in the city. Pat, listen, this place is called Chocolate City for a reason, man. And I knew for a fact, if Drake May came, if he wasn't successful as what Jaden is now, they would give him the Carson Wentz, Sam Howell treatment, right? We love you until we don't love you. Jaden Daniels could win 5 games this season, and they are going to love him to death. Like, we got go-go music. We got the club, the streets. Everybody got Jaden Daniels merch. Like, they're going to stand behind this guy. And I said that all summer, that this was the pick. And I believe, I watched his mother go to the game. Like, people love his mother. Like, one thing I know about this city, Pat, they're going to stand behind RG3. They love him. Even when he was in the wrong, they loved him to death. And I just felt like getting Jaden Daniels, man, was a steal for this city, steal for this team, steal for the culture. And I know him being here, I know he probably like, thank God I didn't go nowhere else, because this is home for him. I don't even remember where he's from. I think it's Louisiana. But this is home for him. This is the closest thing south that he would have been to. And I just think he's in the right place at the right time. So what you think about those 3 quarterbacks and their landing spots, or did you feel any different before they got drafted?
Yeah, I liked all of them, and I think my order of preference for them was Caleb, Jaden, Drake May. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that now, if we probably redrafted, that Caleb comes in 3rd, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
Like, I still think it's going to work out with him. I know this was a rough year for him. Sack avoidance was a problem, but like the offensive line didn't help. And we'll see. It just like he wasn't on the same page with Keenan Allen for like the first month and a half of the season. It seemed like DJ Moore was kind of pouty for the whole season. Mm-hmm. It was a weird year. So like, I don't know what's going on there. Like, if there are some issues where DJ Moore and Caleb just don't like each other.
Yeah.
It almost kind of seemed like that, but so jury really out. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic things are going to get better with Ben Johnson now, but like Jaden is that guy. He is that guy. Absolutely. Like, you're just spot on with your assessment. And like, I can see why Washington loves him.
Yeah.
And it sucked that like, it looked like RG3 was going to be that guy for them all those years ago. And it didn't happen.
They still love him. Injuries. I promise. Yeah. They still love him. You know what I'm saying?
And like, they deserved the second coming of the franchise savior, and they got it now. And like Drake May, what he did with like that terrible supporting cast, like he's the real deal, man. And I liked him a lot coming out of college. And I just think that dude is like just kind of one of those dudes who comes from this family of like, dad played high level sports, brother was a basketball star at North Carolina. Like, you can see it. The dude's just a winner. And like, same with Jaden Daniels. Like, and I feel like they're gonna get it right pretty soon. And like, how does New England luck into their quarterback of the future so soon after?
And
But yeah, man.
They humble, man. They look like guys that they want to, like Caleb, man. He always rubbed people wrong anyway. And then he came out, he told his punter, "You won't be working a lot this year." Like he just, man, his head just exploded during the off season, man. And I think with Ben Johnson being there, I'm telling you, if Caleb not on FaceTime right now, calling his coach every 5 minutes, like, "Coach, I'm ready, man. Like I need to be, I need you here." So, Rock, man, what's your take on them quarterbacks, brother? How they in the landing spots, and we're gonna move on to this last segment, bro.
So I pulled up my rookie research for 2024, and I don't know if you guys are like this with me, where it's like you have a player, you grade him, but then you change your grade depending on the landing spot and also consensus. I had Jaden Daniels 1, Drake May 2, Caleb Williams 3. I could tell you that is not the way I drafted them. I just fell into the whole like, oh, you can't go against consensus. He's going to this landing spot in Chicago. He has Rome Odunze. He has Keenan Allen. He has DJ Moore. This offense is ready to explode. They're on Hard Knocks. But yeah, for me, it was especially with Drake May over Caleb Williams, which I did not draft that way whatsoever. He had better fantasy points per game in college. He had a better ADOT. He had a better PFF pass grade in college as well. But the other thing was the rushing. That was the one thing that like I'm most excited about with Drake May. And we got a couple of people in Mike and EV that are really high on Drake May, but I don't think either of them are as high on Drake May as you are, Pat. I'm looking at your rankings. You got him at 6 in Superflex. Yeah, in Dynasty. That's probably the highest I've ever seen him in the rankings. What do you like about him so much that you're so confident about with next year?
You mentioned a T-Rock, and this was undersold, I think, last year when he was coming out, how aggressive and how good a runner Drake May actually is. I mean, like he's no Lamar, he's no Jaden Daniels, but like I actually think he could be like almost as good a runner as Jalen Hurts. I mean, Hurts scores a lot of touchdowns, but as far as like pure rushing yardage, like Hurts is not on a level like Lamar Jackson. And I don't know if Drake May is ever going to be a 700-yard runner, but like I think he could be a 500-yard runner. And
I think he's a tier over Justin Herbert as far as like rushing. You know what I'm saying? That T-Law, Justin Herbert type rusher. I think Drake May is on that, but just a tier up though over those guys.
And like, I mean, look at what he was working with, man. I mean, Demario Douglas. I know a lot of people love Demario Douglas, like overachiever for sure. But
he's
like,
got booty, and that's it.
Kayshon Boutte, another guy who like we were ready to leave for dead a year ago or so, and like comes out
crazy.
But ideally, Kayshon Boutte's like your 4th receiver.
Yeah.
So and Pops Douglas is like your slot guy, and that's it. And you've got 2 legit outside guys. Well, they're going to get him that. I mean, like T. Higgins makes them a lot of sense for them with all the cap space they got. Wouldn't be surprised if they, draft a guy too. And
remember, Vrabel lost AJ Brown, man. Hey, I need you to be my AJ Brown, T. Come on over. I missed it because he still said to this day he's still mad about the AJ Brown thing in Tennessee. And he said, I read something that said he's going to try to trade for AJ Brown if he can, which I know he wouldn't. But I'm just saying, T. Higgins is my AJ Brown if I'm Mike Vrabel.
I think the thing that I overweight as well was GT O'Sullivan had him as his 4th quarterback. I got a lot of respect for GT O'Sullivan and the way he breaks down film. And when I started watching more film on Drake May, there is lots of passes that he had that were just thrown in the dirt, where his footwork or his mechanics were just kind of off. And I was really worried about that, especially with the New England landing spot. But yeah, man, that rushing upside, the ultimate equalizer. So.
Well, I actually, it's funny. I wanted to talk about some of these rookies. I don't have Drake May up. But before we get on to the rookies, though, Pat, I want to ask you about coaching, right? And we talked about Mike Vrabel with Drake May. I always thought that Drake might need an offensive guy. But seeing what he did with Mayo being there, he might not necessarily. My biggest question is, it wasn't even Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel is the team success. But I want to see who he has as his OC. Like, that's what I want to see in who he's going to get for that young quarterback. I always believe in, if you take a quarterback 101, 102, 103, if you don't have an OC in place or a head coach that's an offensive guy in place, you banking on this rookie probably being on his own in a sense, right? I mean, you're gonna have an OC, but I'm saying one of those guys. Like I really love Cliff coming in, and I thought Cliff really was the guy for one of those top guys, and he ended up being Jaden Daniels' coach. And I always go on this Cliff rant, so I'm gonna keep it short, Pat. But I will say, people always say Cliff is this, Cliff is that. He always falls off towards the end of his coaching in the season, blah, blah, blah. But I'll say again while you here, when he was coaching, he had Kyler Murray. Kyler was a head case at times, young guy. Always, I mean, look at now. Kyler still walks around. We like, man, what is Kyler doing? We wish he just use the tools he have and become that great quarterback we know he can be. And then him having Jaden Daniels towards the end of the season, you saw the offense not really look as good as it did early. And like I always say, Cliff had Kyler young. He had Jaden young. He hasn't had an Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, one of those guys that are very established that he can kind of like Sean McVay and Stafford. That's a great pairing. Now, we ain't seen Sean McVay with a rookie yet, right? So maybe it might be time with him. He might go through some lumps in his offense. I think Cliff now has a guy who's grown beyond what we thought. And I also had this little point. Quarterback staying in college 4, 5, 6 years. Sometimes it look like it's working, man. Bo Nix, how I got on the screen, Jaden Daniels. These guys coming into the league at 24, 25 years old, Michael Penix. I think that's what's working right now, Pat. That's the formula, man. They're coming out at 21, 22, and your first year or two looking like a struggle because as a man, you aren't fully developed. Mentally, you aren't grown. I think Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix have come into this league as grown men and are ready to play grown men football and lead other grown men in their locker room. They're 21, 22-year-old coming out at their junior year. I don't think that's the formula right now in today's game. And with as hard as these coaches are coming up with these plays, if you listen to Sean Payton call plays, he calls like R1, left 2, up, down. He sounds like a cheat code on a PlayStation game. You know what I'm saying? Like, so being 23, 24, 25 and being in college for the full term or extra 1 or 2 years, I think is the formula for these rookies. And with these guys I got coming up right here, Pat, I'm sorry I went on my little rant, man, but Cliff is my guy, man. I hate when I hear people talk about Cliff can't coach because that they look different now with Jaden Daniels. So with these guys right here, man. Well, before I move on, Pat, what you think about that coaching carousel with the rookie quarterbacks? And does that really matter to you when it comes to your drafting and looking at their future?
Yeah, and by the way, Brock Purdy, another guy who started a lot of games in college, last pick of the draft, and he still hit the ground running once he was there. So, like, get
that's my guy.
A guy who started a lot of college games, and oh, by the way, Shedeur Sanders has started a lot of games in college. Not just at Colorado, but like
that's what I'm saying. I know you're a Shedeur guy, Pastor. Go ahead, man.
Shedeur. So yeah, I mean, I do hope that Vrabel makes the right hire. But the good thing is, I think there are going to be a lot of people interested in working with Drake May. So fingers crossed that works out. But yeah, I mean, like sometimes it is hard to you're going to take your lumps working with a young quarterback like that. And but yeah, the good thing with Cliff and with Jaden Daniels, like that marriage has worked out pretty well. And Jaden is like mature beyond his years, I think, and just his experience, in college playing for this high flying offense and doing it in the SEC, the toughest conference in the country. So I'm just hoping they do. Like, I don't want to see Vrabel reuniting with Arthur Smith. That's not going to happen. But man, I want him to hire someone we're excited about working with Drake May.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Pat. And speaking of Jaden, I didn't even realize I did this until just now. That's the LSU team right here, right? Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, and Malik Neighbors, right? How did that team not make the damn playoffs? We will never know. But I want to bring up these rookies, Pat, and just kind of before we get out of here, get your perspective on these rookies compared to, I don't know if I want to say compared to the rookies coming in or compared to the draft pick of where they will be going, right? So, like, we know you can't get Jaden Daniels for the 101. That's not going to happen. But coming into how they came into the draft this year, most of us had Caleb 101. I had Jaden 1. Me and Mike really stood on Jaden because he just reminded me of Lamar a lot. Speaking of 2024, I know you were Brock Bowers guy, Pat. You had him. I want to say you had Brock Bowers as tight end 1 coming into the season, right?
Not for redraft. I had him
well,
a little lower.
I'm talking dynasty.
Oh, dynasty. Yep.
Dynasty. You know what I'm saying dynasty because I know you a dynasty guy. We mostly a dynasty platform. Just all dynasty talk. I know you probably had Brock coming in number 1. I think I heard you like kind of repeat that over the off season. With Brock being number 1, Jaden, like where did you have these guys in a sense like coming in to the season last year? These guys on the screen, let's just say I only had these guys because they performed the best at their positions. Drake May didn't come in till later on in the season, so but we can bring up Drake. He don't have to be on the screen. I'm just, where did you have that rookie class coming into the season compared to the guys that were already in the league established?
So like last year for Dynasty, where did I have these guys like overall?
Yeah, like coming into the 2024 season, like I know Neighbors was high on people rankings. Brock Bowers was number 1 for you. Where did you kind of had these guys falling in before you seen what they did with their teams when the season started off?
Yeah, so I mean, I was excited about Harrison and Neighbors, and I still think Harrison will pan out, and it's kind of freaky how
buy low, baby, buy low. Sell them to me, I take them.
Yeah, and his rookie year numbers were like almost identical to his old man's numbers. Yeah, and like Marvin Harrison Sr., his career worked out pretty well, so I don't think people should sweat that. But Neighbors is clearly the real deal. I had both of those guys in my top 10 in Dynasty, top 7, top 8. I made the same mistake on Brian Thomas that I made on Justin Jefferson. I didn't give it, like I knew Jamar Chase was the real deal. I knew Malik Neighbors was the real deal. I undersold Jefferson when he was with Burrow and Chase at LSU, and I undersold Brian Thomas Jr. And Brian Thomas Jr., I mean, what an eye-opening season that was.
Yeah.
And to be doing it at the end and having your like best stretch of your rookie season with Mac Jones as your quarterback, like I think he's fantastic. I mean, I'd rather have him in Dynasty than like Nico. I think I'd rather have Brian Thomas Jr. than Amon-Ra for Dynasty. Like that. I mean, he is the real deal, man. And Ladd's pretty good too. Man, for Ladd to just, I thought he'd be like a really good complementary receiver. Like he was the alpha and like alpha by a mile after Quentin Johnston kind of like folded up after a little period of hope there for him. But man, like what a class this was. And, I think the class of 2025 for receivers might be like not all that bad, but man, like there's no way it can ever match the class of 2024 because that is a special class.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Rob.
Pat, I got a question for you. What do you think is the thing that most people get wrong when it comes to, rookie evaluation? Because you have one of the best, draft boards in 2024. You're one of the most accurate when it comes to, especially with these rookies. What do you think people get wrong the most that we can focus on and improve upon with 2025 with these rookies?
Maybe sometimes it's paying too much attention to landing spot. And I know like I made the dumb mistake. Ultimately, I had JJ McCarthy ranked ahead of Drake May, even though I love Drake May. I let that landing spot sway me, and the fact that I loved Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and like how good a situation that was going to be for McCarthy. McCarthy could still wind up being really good, had the washout rookie year, but like I totally went against my instincts on Drake May. So sometimes we pay too much attention to landing spot and fade the guys we shouldn't be. Also, I'm never going to fade a like productive college running back who's a little light and runs a disappointing 40 time, because that has now burned me on both Kyron Williams and Bucky Irving. Drafted neither of those guys, and like
don't feel bad, Pat. A lot of us did the same thing, man. So it wasn't just you. My biggest probably failure was Malik Neighbors. Like you just said, landing spot. That's why I want to bring this up. I thought the Giants were going to be so bad that I can buy Malik Neighbors later, because all those people that took him in the 3rd round, man, I need to re-roll this first. Let me get rid of Malik Neighbors. Daniel Jones trash, the Giants trash. I didn't expect him to do what he did and ultimately get all those targets. And I knew the talent, my biggest thing was the price is too high in a startup. So let me just wait till like week 9 and 10 when he's not really doing a lot because the Giants are trash, and maybe I can buy in then. Ultimately, that was a failure. I wish I didn't listen to my own reason of doing that. But like you said, landing spot, man, is key for those things. So looking into the next class, though, Pat, I know we can't really compare those guys to these because this class was one of a kind in a sense. Just coming into the draft, though, with Shador and Ward, running backs, we seen two, Junkins last night. When you think about, I'm trying to think. Am I missing a name? Well, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of names, right? Caleb Johnson, all these guys. When you think about the class coming into 2025, what I kind of like it's kind of hard to say off the top of the head. I'm trying to think like a price tag frame of players that are coming in. If you a guy getting ready, like your draft pick burning a hole in your pocket, you don't know what to do in this offseason, you watching the national championship game, and you like, man, I could sell this pick and get me one of these guys on the screen. Comparing the 2024 class and how that worked out, what is your belief on this 2025 class at just different positions and your draft picks you have right now, right? So let's just say you're 101, super flex league. I'm sure everybody's going Ashton Genty for the most part. We got some quarterback needy teams, but with these 101, 102, 103, 104, what's kind of like the value that you treat them as right now before this draft selection happens? And are you willing to move them before knowing landing spot of the players, or are you kind of just holding them as gold because come April they're gonna be triple the money of what they worth, right? Are you one of those traders right now because I need to make a move, or sell high, buy low, or are you waiting for the draft to come and having a good time on draft day?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like. So I don't know if we would have called any of the quarterbacks in last year's class totally can't miss, although we had a pretty good feeling that Daniels, Caleb, Drake May were all going to be really good bets. Right.
Yeah.
I don't feel quite as good about Shador and Ward as I do about those guys, as I did about those guys. I like Shador a lot. Ward kind of scares me because he has a little bit of a hero ball mentality that kind of scares me a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Genty is pretty foolproof. I think Tet is mostly foolproof. There's
some people that agree with you on this channel, Pat. I'm a tech guy, man, but there's some people on this channel that we watched film on them the other night. We had film sessions and no one was impressed. But I keep saying, man, just wait and see, man. Just give them to me. I take Tet, man. I seen enough during the season to believe in them. But go ahead, Pat. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
Remind the guys, man.
I like Tet too. He would be my wide receiver 2 in this class if Travis Hunter was going to be a full-time wide receiver. Unfortunately, yes. I think he's probably going to be primarily cornerback and then a guy you play maybe 20-25% snaps as like a fourth receiver type. But so yeah, I mean, it's just I'm not as sure. I think the cutoff where things get murky is about where it was last year after 108, 109 or so. But I'm a little less certain about the top 8 or top 9 this year than I was about last year's class. I think there were a lot of pretty much can't miss guys in that one. And maybe this one, they're only like 1 or 2.
I'm with you. I kind of feel the same way. If I had to ask you right now off the cuff, you got the 101 right now. Or you want the 101. What are you willing to give up to get the 101 or the 102? And what is somebody else had to give up to get your 101 or 102 right now? Currently, I know you got to go through some things. Rock, before Pat get to that though, you got anything you want to bring up? I know Pat probably searching on.
Well, one thing that I got to bring up that Scott Connor says is that focus on with your rookie drafts the strength of the class. So the strength of this class, at least for me personally, is RB and tight end. So I am super stoked for Loveland and Tyler Warren and Genty and these other running backs. I think that this is the year. And the nice thing is with those two positions in particular, they had the highest hit rates in our rookie drafts. If you look at dating back to 2018, we're at 100% hit rate if a tight end is consensus in the first round. They have had at least one top 12 season, which is pretty good. And we might have 2 tight ends that might go in the first round of this year in the NFL draft that might get bumped up into the first round of rookie draft. So I'm super stoked about that. And You and me, Fizz, we talked about it earlier. If a running back is at 101, the consensus 101, they have a pretty high hit rate. We have,
Sure.
Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Brees Hall, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley. I'm pretty stoked. I think that's a can't miss hit, regardless of landing spot. I think in superflex leagues, you should pick the quarterbacks. Shador, I feel a little bit better about him. I think the consensus is kind of crazy. We're all on Shador, but the consensus is Cam Ward. Even in the NFL circles, when they're putting Cam Ward ahead of Shador, it's fine by me. I always take the second quarterback. Usually the first quarterback that goes in our rookie drafts, for some reason, they like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I'd rather have Jaden Daniels now so it might end up being that way. But I know that you're feeling a little bit iffy about the back end of the first round, Pat. But looking at just our last few rookie drafts, the back end of the first round is hit a lot better than the middle, and sometimes it's just as good as the beginning. Especially in this last draft class with BTJ and Ladd McConkey, there could be some real values.
Yeah, and that's probably where we get all the Ohio State guys. Egbuka, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, and I wouldn't mind getting any of those dudes in the back of the round. And by the way, T-Rock, I did get a little sad when you didn't mention Harold Fannin as one of your rookie.
So I haven't done all my research yet, so I'm going to get into all these players. But yeah, I'm super stoked for this class.
Fannin's like a little lighter than those other guys. That's the only issue is Fannin going to be playing like 80-90% of the snaps like Warren and Loveland. But Fannin, 117 catches for Bowling Green, 1,500 yards. He's pretty good.
He's PFF's tight end 1. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if he snuck into the first round. But Fizzle, just to get back to your question, I don't know what – if someone came along and offered you in Superflex Caleb Williams for the 101 this year, would you take that?
Well, I'm gonna say this with the Ben Johnson news, maybe it changed people's mind. Before that, it probably would have been a no, right? Most people would say no automatically. I would say, because I see Jake say he offered a 101 for Nico. I don't know about that one, bro. Me, I wouldn't have gave you I think they save you, Jake, to be honest. I'm not giving up the 101 for Nico personally, brother.
They're the same for me. Genty and Nico, they're the same.
But I will say, Pat, the 101 for Caleb right now, I would say who else is doing it? That's what I would think in my head, right? Who else is giving up the 101 for Caleb? I don't think most people will, to be honest with you. So why would I do it knowing that most people aren't? And I know each league is case basis, some recency bias. If you're a Bears fan and you need to have your guy, I understand it. But I don't know, Pat. That's a good question, man. I don't think I would today, though. I think I would today. I think I would enjoy the hype of having that 101 and maybe seeing if I can get something else or Caleb plus. Because let's just say today you offered that and you like, man, should I take it? Should I don't? And then you wait 3 weeks or you wait, after the Senior Bowl and all that good stuff and the hype gets more real. The closer and closer you get, the person that wanted to give you that Caleb, they might throw in an extra pick or extra player. Like the more closer you get to that draft, the more the hype is going to be. And you could have undersold yourself for that 101 with Caleb. So I think I would still hold that 101, and I don't know if I would do that right now.
Yeah, it's just an unusual with it being a running back, and T-Rock mentioned Scott Connor, and I wonder how Scott Connor would answer that question because I know Scott thinks running back value is fleeting, and like those guys get devalued quicker than players at other positions. And what are we doing clinging on to a 101 who's likely to be a running back? But then again, Genty could be a special dude. Like he's, if he's not on the Bijan Saquon level of running back prospect, he's real close. So for a guy like that, you might have to reevaluate the stance on running backs as dynasty assets.
Well, one thing for sure, Pat, I'm a tight end lover, man. People know tight ends matter to me, even when they don't to other people. I'm the biggest Kyle Pitts stan, and my boy hurts me every year, man. So I guess that's why Brian said, I'm going to love to hear about the tight end class. But I guess before we get out of here, Pat, man, we got this question. It's a burning topic. Jaden Daniels, I don't know what the price is, but if you got a price, cook one up for us, Pat. What does somebody need to offer you for Jaden Daniels?
Too damn high.
What would someone need to offer me? I mean, it would be, man.
Well, I say this: could you get Lamar for Jay Daniels straight up right now?
I think you could. I mean, right now,
I think you got to be somewhere in that range, right? It ain't coming no later than that. It got to be like, I like Lamar, you like Jaden. Let's just go ahead and swap. You know what I'm saying? It got to be one of those.
And that's it. Right now, I've got Lamar number 2, Jaden number 3. But after what we've seen in the playoffs, I don't know how it's going to be when I re-rank.
For sure.
Redo my dynasty rankings in a couple of days for our February update. So, man, that is the right ballpark. And as far as draft picks, I mean, like how many years worth of firsts? 3 or 2? It's more than 2.
Well, I say this: if it's 2, it got to be a team that I know is going to be top 3 pick for the next 2. I mean, it's more than 2 though. But I'm saying this team that I'm trading for picks, this team better be top 3 in every category of losing, and I need to have those top 3 picks. But I'm keeping him, bro. He's untouchable to me right now. He's untradeable. I can't do it.
The crazy thing is that's the KTC price. That's the fair price is like 3 firsts for Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen or Lamar. But that's not what's happening in my leagues, at least. Man, I've offered 4 firsts for Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen, some of these players. Some of these teams, man, once you got one of those top 3 players, it is impossible to be able to move them and stuff like that. So,
especially in a rookie year with all the hype, man, good luck.
In this class, like, people are going to be like, man, it's just Shador and Cam Ward and Dart, and that's it. So I think people are not going to move them until maybe 2027 when we get another, amazing class or something like that. But I think it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, man, look, we had a good one, Pat, man. Look, we appreciate you. Everybody in the chat, if y'all got any questions you want to holler at Pat with, man, drop them now. But if not, it's all good. It's all love. And Pat, man, like, again, we appreciate you coming on the cook up with us, man. I'm not sure if you got a chance to meet my boy Rock at the expo, but now we got a meeting, so it's all love, baby. I like when you call them Rock, because I'm the one that started calling them Rock, man. So I like, hearing that from you, Pat. But any words before you get up out of here, man, and check out
it. Appreciate you guys having me so much, Fizzle. T-Rock, it was great to meet you, and I do look forward to meeting in person at the Fantasy Football Expo in August, when it's going to be a lot warmer than it is right now, and it'll be pleasant stand outside and hang out and have a beer, unlike right now. But so that's it. If everyone wants to check out the Fantasy Pros Dynasty podcast, I would appreciate that. But thank you so much. Hope we can do it again soon. Much love to you guys, and enjoy Championship Sunday.
For sure. Well, Pat, I did want to break the news to you. We lost the school, man. The school is gone.
Oh, no.
It was sold, and of all places, it was sold to a church. So we're never getting it back. It's over with. But, I was looking forward to having that talent show, man, and have you come through, man, and have some vibes. But we still going to find a way to have us a good time at the expo. We're going to do it a normal way, man. We can't overdo it. We got to do it the normal way. But, Rock, before we get out of here, brother, how we feeling, man?
Yeah, it was great to have Pat on the show because he's got a journalism background, and that's not really common in the fantasy football space. That's something I really, really appreciated about you. Just as a writer for South Harmon, man, we're kind of a dying breed just to be able to, get people to read our articles. But I do appreciate, what you put in writing. I think that is very, very special. I think that's one of the things that, people are kind of missing out on, especially in our space. I wanted to see if you could speak a little bit more to that, Pat. It's just like with your love for writing, what kind of things do you think, with your writing that people are kind of missing out on in the space? Because that's something I really appreciate about you.
Sometimes if people don't do that enough and don't get enough reps doing it, like you don't want to trip. You don't need an extensive writing background to be a good writer, but like, you need to be able to write sentences that are good enough that people aren't tripping over themselves trying to figure out what you're saying. So like, everyone should go and get the Elements of Style by Strunk and White. It's a short little handbook that you can read in like a day, but it's like the best manual on how to write competently that you'll ever find. And it's a tiny little book you could fit in your back pocket. So start with that and go from there if you're looking to get into the writing game.
And I got to say, too, I got to meet Matt Kelly at the expo this year. I talked to him for 30 minutes about Tarantino movies. I thought you would appreciate that. So that was
Hey, Pat,
awesome.
trust me, my boy Rock
awesome.
did his homework on you, Pat. He know everything. He been checking up on you, making sure he knew what was going on for sure.
That's awesome, man. I was just talking to Matt the other day. He's awesome, and I'm a big Tarantino guy too. And ever since I saw Reservoir Dogs back in the '90s, I'm like, wow, who's the dude who made this film? Man, this is like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah, Kill Bill and Glorious Bastards for me, 2 of my favorite movies of all time, man.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Well, look, we glad to have Pat Fitzmaurice here in the building. Pat, man, I don't know if you ever watch how I close the shows, man, but I got to get one from you, man. Rock, give me one of them things, and I'm going to close out and let Pat close us out, Rock.
Huh?
Pat, let me get one of them. There you go, baby. Hey, it's the cook up. We out of here. We appreciate Pat coming through, man. And for everybody that showed up, man, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We out of this thing.